clerk please read the public notice?
Notice is hereby given that the City of Jamestown CDBG and Home 5-Year Consolidated Plan and Fiscal Year 2025 Annual Action Plan has been prepared and will be submitted to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, pending a mandatory 30-day public review period beginning June 6, 2025. The purpose of this public review period is to assist the Department of Development in gaining a better understanding of the housing, neighborhood, and economic development needs to be addressed through the city's Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, and home program allocations for 2025. The final draft plan will be available beginning Friday, June 6, 2025 in the Department of Development and the Office of the Mayor on the 4th floor of the Municipal Building at 200 East 3rd Street, Jamestown, New York, 14701. Additionally, it will be made available at Prendergast Library and online at www.jamestownny.gov. All comments regarding the annual/consolidated action plans will be accepted until July 10th, 2025 by 4 o'clock p.m. Public meetings will be held June 14th at 10 a.m. at Jackson Taylor Park and June 24th at 5:30 p.m. at Lillian Dixon Park regarding the submission of these plans. Public hearing is scheduled for June 30th before the voting session at 6:45 p.m. in the council chambers. The community survey opened May 17th, 2025, remains open through July 10th, 2025. All comments will be considered prior to the formal authorization of the application.
Thank you. Was there any correspondence received regarding this hearing?
No.
Hearing none. Is there anyone here that would like to address the public hearing tonight? Name and address.
Champ, 225 Bowling Street. First of all, I want to congratulate the Department of Development for doing what I consider a great engagement process in the community. In the past, I questioned how well that works and what the purpose is, but I think it's done very well this time. But I do have some questions, and I trust that I can get some answers from this. My comment to the City Council is that basically this is as much as your application as the community, because it's like your budget, and you have to determine priorities. And I'm going to ask you this, if you can answer a question. Do any of you know what the Community Housing Development Organization is? Because you're voting on that tonight. And in fact, it's in the home program, and it represents 30% of the home program to a dollar value of $93,977.97. That particular territory is very critical. In fact, that's one of the area's entities that's been highly questioned about its transparency, its development processes, the people that are committed to it. And by the way, how do you choose your community housing development organization? What's been the outcome of that organization since the inception of the home program? I don't know the data. Maybe the Department of Development can tell me how many houses have been habitated, rehabilitated, built, whatever the case may be. Now, I also want to let you know that you only need to do 15%, not 30%. That's the basic requirement. Nothing more than 15%. What does that represent? Well, that represents half of $93,977, which could actually be used, and this goes, by the way, goes to a not-for-profit, could go to the homeowners occupied rehab program and the home development program. Those are citizens programs. So I guess I asked the question, why 30%, which is the highest category other than going into the homeowners occupied rehab? And it's higher than any category in the community development block grant, 30%. So if you don't know what a community development housing organization is and what they've done, I guess I question how you can vote on this. Maybe the Department of Development can explain why 30% versus 15% is so important this time. Last year was 25%. It's just like a random possibility. And by the way, there's a lot of requirements defined within doing and working with a community housing development organization, such as the board membership, what they're going to do, where they're going to do it. The other question I have is that there's a line item for community engagement and public safety, 3%. How did that get determined, and why is it only 3% for public safety? Is there a rationale behind what's going to happen with that? It's $30,000. Cut it in half, it's $15,000 for public safety. I would think that at this point in time in this community, the public safety would be a higher level of investment than 3%. So I think there needs to be some explanation. If the city council doesn't know what the program is, how can you vote on it?
Thank you. Do you want to answer your question?
Absolutely. I think to assume that the city council doesn't know what a CHODO or a community development housing organization is insulting. But you may recall, in the past, and Mr. Champ mentioned, that last year's allocation was 25%. That was something that you all voted on. We actually have increased our allocation to our CHODOs, which are CRIC and Code Inc., from 15% historically up to the 30%. We did that a few years ago with a significant amendment. That is because they have a number of projects that they are working on, rental apartment rehabilitations, and to renovate just one home, 1, 2-unit, 3-unit, whatever the case may be, for anything less than $93,000 is pretty hard to come by nowadays. So if we can get 1 or 2 projects out of that allocation, especially because they do multiple units, whereas the remainder of our home funds are typically homeowner occupied in one single family, that has the potential to house 3 families, 4 families. So that's the rationale for that. Happy to answer any questions. I'm sorry that Mr. Champ was unable to attend any of the meetings ahead of time, but happy to respond to his questions. With regard to, and just to mention, CHODOs come out of our home investment partnership funds, not CDBG. So there is a separation there, just to make that clarification.
For public safety.
Public safety. So it is not the intent of CDBG to subsidize the police department's administrative funds. That program was created a few years ago when we still had a community resource officer. We also used it to contribute towards the nuisance officer. Neither position is currently existing in the police department right now. We did decide to maintain that line because there is opportunity to work with the police department. We have had opportunity to increase patrols for different initiatives, and we do still work very closely with them. We will use that funding to coordinate and do public safety engagement and events like we've done in the past. But it is not the intent of CDBG to supplement or subsidize the police department salaries.
I have,
Let me just go through that. Is there anyone else who would like to address? I'll ask a third time. Is there anyone else who would like to address public hearing? If not, is there anyone from the floor?
yeah, Crystal, you might be able to, is there any flexibility in these percentages
Sure.
if it's approved? Okay. And
Yes.
and secondly, could that 3% in the enhanced community safety line item of 30+ thousand, could neighborhood watch groups get some funding maybe out of that. I know the police have done it in the past through community service type of a line item, but I'm thinking like signs for the neighborhood or, any.
There's no reason why that couldn't come out of that 30,000, as far as I know. I have to look at the
Yeah.
HUD's specific requirements,
There's
but
been a couple of neighborhoods that thinking about starting neighborhood watch up again, that's what I thought I'd ask. And their flexibility in the numbers. Okay.
yeah, so, and public comment ends on the 10th? On July 10th. So again, I encourage all of you, if you do have comments or revisions that you would like to see made before we submit, please get those to us before July 10th. If you'd like to see some of those numbers shifted, reach out to us. We'd be happy to sit down and talk through that with you as well. We are submitting on July 13th, right? 13th. Okay. I'll
Anyone
just
else?
confirm that it will be July 14th is when we are to submit to HUD. So we've got, until then, really, if we could get that information from you by the 10th, that would give us time to get any adjustments made in our plan before we submit.
It's 2 weeks.